to send me like little chats if they have questions while we're talking. Like I sent everybody the topic in case they were at home. So if anyone's at home, they now have it.
I actually got lost on that one.
Okay. So the basic thing that's happening now is, talking about all the marathon runners, right? The marathon runners, I've been looking around. I was watching them yesterday, and they're running around, and I'm thinking, wow, all this energy is being expended, right? And I was sort of thinking about the power loss, and I was like, if only we had like a way to like put them all on generators. Like, can you imagine if all of those people were all running on treadmills and hooked up to a generator, how much power we would now have? They have the amount of energy to practice every single day and run like 25-something miles a day. If for a week all those people ran on treadmills, we'd be like totally perfect. We'd have power for days. So anyway, it got me just thinking about, and I think about this a lot, about like wasted ends of energy. Like as a systems thinker, if you think about things that are just ends and don't go to any means, it's very frustrating. And I think that when you're in school, you naturally get frustrated by things that don't show to you their importance, when you don't realize why you're doing them and there's no obvious end. You're very practical people. You're scientists. When you don't feel the reality of it actually having an impact on you, you naturally do not want to do it. Your body and your mind and everything says, I do not want to do this. It is not useful for me because, right, we're talking about like survival, your survival instinct. Nothing in you says, I need this to survive. It says, stay away from this. It is useless to you. It's a waste of your time. You could be doing something better with the time. And you're totally right, right? You got to like give yourself native props for that, because even though the system now relies on you doing that, you in your body go, I know that this isn't right. And you're totally right, okay? So I was thinking about the classroom, and you know that we try to sort of like, even with these projects in general, we try to make them into projects that are important, that actually have like a real world application, etc. But suddenly we were handed the best real world application possible, and something that you literally would have to be a non-feeling human to not care about. It's in your own backyard. You are here. There's an immediate need. Right? All of the energy that you're expending in doing the research is actually going to be put to trying to figure out practical solutions to the problem that we actually have. And we're going to figure out means to circulate that information that we come up with. We're going to do some things like live streaming classes, talking to other people, talking to students in other places, trying to encourage people to use their class time to do things like this, because we have an almost unlimited resource of people in classes spending time doing research. There's no reason why it shouldn't be put to solve problems like this. So we're going to use this class as sort of like a laboratory to help and encourage other people to do the same. As well as when we have this information that we've come up with, figure out who we can share it with. Okay? So instead of doing all these different individual projects, we're going to sort of think of ourselves as a team of engineers from different disciplines who come together to solve these issues. And you're going to be responding to each other, okay? You'll still be working in your individual disciplines as groups, but you'll be asking each other questions as is needed, right? Like if when you're doing something in electrical engineering, you have a mechanical engineer that might be nearby, then you might be able to ask a mechanical question, or an environmental engineer or a civil engineer, and you'll all talk to each other, okay? So in terms of just sort of getting ourselves brainstorming on this topic, this is what we're going to be starting with. You're going to start by answering this question, and we're each going to write on it personally for a while. This is also going to be due on Wednesday. You'll actually be handing this in. So thinking about a little bit of your personal discipline with this, but then you'll see that like the macro issue is built into the question, okay? So each one of you is going to answer this question. This is kind of going to just like get you brainstorming, writing, and talking about the situation that we have at hand. And also thinking about how Sandy, this particular hurricane, rhetorically might be the tipping point to get the people with money to actually listen. And why? Okay? Because we know that there have been storms in Haiti, in Indonesia, in India, and all these other places of the world. Do you have any idea of the volume of people that have been affected by the storms in other places in the last 5 or something years. Any idea of those numbers, what those numbers look like?
Relatively big.
It would be a nice number to know. Okay? But why now? Why does a storm that affects New York City and the east coast of the United States might be a moment when people who could have, responded after Haiti or Indonesia, why might they respond now and not before? Don't answer. You're all going to answer. All going to answer. Okay? So here's the question. We are in a state of emergency that has become increasingly familiar over the past decade as extreme weather patterns become more frequent and more devastating. As engineers, we're uniquely positioned to use a combination of language and science to create systemic change locally and globally. What is unique to this storm that you can use to rhetorically make an argument which convinces government and financial leaders to listen to you? And what kinds of suggestions will you make? Should we read that again? Would that be helpful?
Explain the last part.
So ask me any specific questions that you have.
What's unique to this storm?
Can anyone answer that? What does it mean to be asking, what is unique to this storm? What does it mean to be unique to this storm? As opposed to?
A few other.
Right. So without answering the question, when we say unique to this storm, we're saying as opposed to the storms that happened before. Like, why are people going to sit up and listen to scientific and social suggestions about how to change things in the system, like energy system, etc.? Why are people going to listen after this storm in a way that they didn't, for instance, after Haiti? And I have said government and financial leaders, and we're talking about locally as well as globally, but why? Now don't answer, but can you think of any reasons, given the specifics of this storm, that would make people listen in ways they didn't before? What sorts of abstract things might we be thinking about that? Population, okay, geography, finances, business, scale of effect, future effect, okay? Not going to say that much more because I will answer the question for you. Are there any other questions about the question? Okay. Make sure that you're answering it a little bit in terms of what sort of suggestions would you make for your area, but do use the top part, which is about that we're in a state of emergency that's increasingly familiar. Do try to, as we were doing for our proposals, do talk about that it is a global problem. What does that mean? What are the implications on a larger scale? And then what is the specific implications of what has happened here, what will happen here again? What sorts of suggestions can we make on a general level, and then on a specific level, and then on an even more specific level within our field? Okay? I'm going to probably give you about maybe 12 minutes to write on this, but you will also be writing a page for Wednesday. Okay?
Question, who do we address the letter to? So to speak?
This is a brainstorm, so you're not addressing anyone yet. Right now, this is sort of like just brainstorming what sorts of things you would want to say. You're sort of going, I'm going to be talking to, if I was talking to this kind of audience, I might say this. If I was talking to this kind of audience, I might say this. Because there's different kind of audiences, right? Like you might be talking to a government audience, you might be talking to the financial sector, you might be talking to, an angel investor who might just want to make money off you. You might be talking to Pedro's dad. Okay? So there's all sorts of different potential audiences, okay? I'm going to wait for the guys who just came in to sit down, and we're going to read it again and just make sure that we all have the question and are on the same page. Welcome to class, everyone. And I'm pretty pleased that this many people are here. You know why? Because we care about this question. All right, here we go. So just to reiterate what I said before the late people came in, we are now sort of operating within a laboratory environment, utilizing the space of the classroom as a place to come up with potential solutions for what's going on in New York City, which we will share with other people outside of this classroom. We are utilizing all of us as a group that will come together using our different parts of engineering to work with and dialogue with each other to come up with some general solutions that we then will try to sort of like circulate and talk to other teaching environments about and anyone maybe who might listen. Okay, we're going to use our actual energy that put into research to address the situation that is on our doorstep. Okay, so the question that you're answering today to sort of start brainstorming about this in sort of a perceptual way to get your juices flowing is this. We are in a state of emergency that has become increasingly familiar over the past decade as extreme weather patterns become more frequent and more devastating. We were speaking about the storms in other parts of the world that have affected how many hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, so those are sort of the macro information you might use. As engineers, we are uniquely positioned to use a combination of language and science to create systemic change, both locally and globally. What is unique to this storm that you can use to rhetorically make an argument which convinces government and financial leaders to listen to you, and what kinds of suggestions will you make, i.e. within your own discipline? Remember the rhetorics, right? Ethos, pathos, logos. What are the three? Do you guys remember? Remember the different aspects of them? Feeling, logic, and ethics. Okay, so feeling, logic, and ethics. Those are the three different things that you're going to use. Crying people pictures, pathos. All right? On that verge of manipulation. Okay? All right. Get to it.